Ready, Raghuramji.
ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहैः ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Wish you all a very happy 2025. We are entering into a new year according to the Western calendar, the calendar that we normally follow. And I've been reading the reports about 2025. It's going to be a very promising, successful kind of a year, but a year which is supposed to be involved with a lot of hard work. We are prepared to do the hard work in this new year so that let's make the 2025 a very memorable kind of a year. It's all in our hands. So with these things, let me start with the topic that we are discussing about Sanatana Dharma, where we have come last time to an idea of making this very clear about this idea of Tathya and Satya. Tathya is what really happened. Satya is what is the idea behind it, what is involving it, a all-encompassing kind of a thing. Many times the books and literature, everything will want to give Satya in want to impress upon Satya. But for that, we use ground reality, something like that, which is supposed to be Tathya. Don't get stuck up with the Tathya. Then what happens is that you will miss the Satya, which is supposed to be conveyed to you by this particular example that is there. As I said last time also, let me recollect that couple of incidents which I talked about. That in the Ramayana, there is no question of that Lakshmana Rekha anywhere given in the original Ramayana. But later on, people added that Lakshmana Rekha. The idea of adding Lakshmana Rekha, it may not be Tathya, that means reality is not there, but Satya in the sense that it implies that now the further step that Sita has to take to come out of her Parnakutir, for good reason or bad reason, it doesn't matter, but it's on her own decision. Until that time, Lakshmana was guarding her. Now, Lakshmana empowered her that you can take yourself into your hands. And that's where the mistake has happened. And that is the reason why Lakshmana, uh, Sita, when Hanuman meets with Sita in Ashokavana, she says, please ask Lakshmana to pardon me because I did not adhere to his instructions that he has given. Very clearly that she says that this is a kind of thing. Similarly, many times that, in fact, even in our simple conversation also, Satya and Tathya are so different in a very simple way. Your face is, beautiful like the moon, the lover expression to the love. That is, your face is like moon. You mean to say that it is a moon like a round head? If it is round, then it will not be beautiful also. But idea is to communicate the idea of beauty behind it. Similarly, your hair is like the way that it is the serpent hair, but it's like a serpent. That means it's just only a alankara that we use it. It's an embellishment that we use it. Don't look at Satya in that particular thing. It is don't look at Satya in that. It's a reality in the form of Satya. The same way, lot of these, all these Puranas are the stories that are created with an idea of conveying some particular idea, meaning behind it, the Satya. For that, we use a lot of these things, imaginations that are there in the form of Tathya, but actually to convey about the Satya. We don't question these things. Not only in our culture, everywhere it is supposed to be like that, that we should not question these things. Unfortunately, today what happened that these things have become religion. And unfortunately, this religion and it has become then conversion and coercion and force it happens. And because of that, they start questioning it. How can an elephant head be there for a human being? And how can, that the father did not know the son is standing there and all that? See, these are the things which we should not question. Unfortunately, these are the questions by which that lot of other religions, they bully the Indian community. And that's what we see again and again, that even the learned people in the other religions, they try to bully, they try to put this kind of questions, making this situation awkward for the Hindus. Sanatana Dharma is something which has got very clear picture of Satya and Tatya. When it is not there, and Satya, it is not Asatya. That means it doesn't exist. It's not reality. It's not truth. No, it is supposed to be something to convey the meaning. And when we look at that way, then we can explain the other religions also in that sense. And the other communities also that we can convey, like, which I said last time also, that Jesus Christ is born to Virgin Mary. Show me at one more case in this whole mankind, anybody, any species has given birth to another sibling and another generation without sex, without having the partner. It is not possible. But how is that in the case of Jesus Christ? It is said that he was Virgin Mary, he was born to Virgin Mary. It communicates the Satya behind it is that Mary was so innocent, absolutely innocent, like a virgin. In spite of the fact that Jesus was born, she lived with Joseph and all that happened. But in spite of it, she was only a virgin because basically she was so innocent. That's why the expression given to her is Virgin Mary. When we give this way, then your respect for the Jesus Christ and for the mother, Mary, your respect goes into manifold. Actually, you really like the idea of giving that idea of Virgin Mary. But it does not mean that Jesus Christ is only born to the Virgin Mary. All others are born out of sin because that father and mother are there. Because of that, they are born. This unfortunate twist that is coming out of that Virgin Mary concept and how much people have misused this kind of a thing, saying that you are born out of sin and that's original sin in the sense that you cannot eliminate that sin. But at the same time, that there is one Savior, that's what is Jesus Christ, and we are the agents of Savior to save you. See, all this happened because of the lack of understanding of this particular concept, spiritual concept that is there. We have all these imaginations of creating stories, creating ideas, not only in the case of Jesus Christ, not only in the case of uh, um, the Ganesha that we talked about, but in so many cases that we have that kind of a thing. And that's what is basically all these Puranas. We have imagination ability, and that's what is extraordinary, wonderful ability of the human being. He can create stories, he can create ideas in such a way that it becomes almost like a living. For example, of the recent times that we have this Harry Potter. Is it not such a simple, it's a story, imagination of somebody? All that chaos, all that thing, all that fight that's going on in the Harry Potter, it really is all imagination. There is nothing which is reality. So that means to say it is not the truth, but it's not Tatya. But at the same time, that it really attracted people. So many millions of people watched it. So many got into that kind of thing. Almost like when you are watching it, the Harry Potter looks like that is a real character who is there, got into all this kind of problems. So that means to say, it stirs your emotions, it stirs your attraction, it stirs your attention towards that. So many things that happen by that. That's why basically it is the Tatya and Satya in a small little simple uh, imaginary story of like Harry Potter that you can create. You can stir the emotions. Our Indian philosophy, what they said is that Sanatana Dharma said that let's create that kind of stories around various gods and goddesses, involve all those things to see that spiritually you grow in the spiritual direction. So that's why Puranas are very useful. Not only that they created the stories behind it, and number of stories, but also they have given the characters, and the characters also have the kind of a expression life that is there, which you can really put them into the practice of, say, these puja, these extraordinary practices, that you can do it. So that is why this culture is very rich with all these things. Every month that we have a festival, every month we have some god or the other visiting, and some places that there are some god, some other places some other god. Some places some god is very important. And you can create around that god so many varieties of imaginations around that, and it becomes very real. Like a simple thing is that Ganesha, when you take it, the uh, god who is in charge of wisdom, you can see that how many different varieties of ways that Ganesha has been represented. In fact, during the Ganesha Puja time, people put the exhibition of their Ganesha idols that are there in the house, everything. And I have seen one house where they have 1,000 forms of Ganesha. Dancing Ganesha, sitting Ganesha, he's sitting in the parliament, addressing in the parliament too. Anywhere that you can imagine Ganesha to be. It's such a great, wonderful feeling that you live with Ganesha. He is like somebody who is along with our brother. So the whole idea, somebody said so beautifully, that out of love, out of connection, bring God to the human level so that you can see God in human being. If you cannot bring the God to the human level, you cannot see a human being in a God in the human being. Any human being, for that matter, you can see the God. And that's ability to somebody to see the God. Otherwise, what happens is your God is just only above somewhere on the clouds, and then you never brought him down, so that human being is totally removed from the God. Whereas the Advaita philosophy, the Indian philosophy, says that God himself has become we are. God himself become all these various forces. In fact, there is a very innocent, and it is not very educated. It's an ordinary common people have this concept. We were there in North India, and then one very unschooled, uneducated lady, she was there. So she said, the day is very hot and there's no wind blowing. So can you ask that, somebody told her, that lady said, can you ask God to send the wind? She said, Acha, very uh, innocent way. She said, okay, I'll say. And then she said, her own way, Param Purusha Narayana, etc., etc. And she said, hey, Bhagwan, Baho. That means you come as wind. You become the wind. See, even at that very innocent level, that she has an idea, God himself has become the wind. God himself has become the water. God himself has become the air. So he himself becomes everything. And when he became all those things, he also became you and me. You're also nothing but divinity. But only thing is that we don't see the divinity within. So therefore, and we don't see divinity within, therefore we didn't see the divinity in the world outside. One who can see the divinity within, he can see the world outside. That's why all these Puranas, all these stories, they are real in that sense that you believe, you take, you help it, you follow it, it touches your heart, the story, and then takes you forward. We all have to remember that these Puranas that are there, the stories that are there, practices that are there, are to actually elevate our spiritual consciousness within us. We feel that the God is there within us and that God is with us. But that is the feeling that we need to get. In fact, I remember during one of the most important festivals is Ganesha festival. So I always remember we bring Ganesha with very carefully. And then on the last day, we send him back. And where do we send him back? Actually, we send him back by putting him into the water. And that too, you put in the water in such a way that the Ganesha should not be hurt. He should be gently pushed into the water. And then there he gets dissolved. What a beautiful concept. So that when we were all kids at that time, we used to bring Ganesha from the market and then nicely do the puja for 5 days or 6 days or 3 days or 5 days or 7 days. Like that, there is a order. After that, then the Ganesha has to go back to her mother. So like a mother we take the permission from the mother to bring him and then bring him back to the mother safely. How safely we have to give it? So we used to have a well in our house, the large well, and then we had to put the Ganesha in the well. So we used to put the Ganesha with a bucket in the well. My mother used to feel so much as if that her own child, Ganesha is. And then when we are lowering the bucket into the water, she would scream, almost like, concerned about saying that, put it very gently, don't create any turbulence. Ganesha will be hurt. Quietly bring him, put him there. And then after bringing him down into the water, and then pull him out and say that he's okay, he's fine. And then again, second time you put it, third time you put it, and third time you topple the bucket so that Ganesha merges into the water. And then that day, we had, before sending Ganesha, we all sit at the well and have a nice, wonderful evening dinner. It is a very simple dinner we used to have it. Only the question is curd rice and a small little sweet, because it's a wonderful occasion. Ganesha is sent back to his mother. But then afterwards, my mother used to feel so sad, as if her own son has gone for some education, some college or something like that. She would always say, after that, 3, 4, 5 times, very unconsciously would say, no, he has gone. He's gone. I said, who? Where? We always used to make fun of her. "Oh, Ganesha has gone. Oh, we are all here. All brothers are here and all the friends are here. Everybody's here. No, no, everybody's here. But he was also there. Now look at the house. Looks empty. See, all these things show that his living experience. So these, like the way that Upanishads and the Dharma, Sanatana Dharma, is a living experience, the same way that this, our Puranas are also living experience. Whether it is Krishna, whether it is Shiva, or whether it is Vishnu or anybody, it's a living experience for each one of us. And it's very special for us. This is what is our ability to really imagine a picture of these gods in the form of nice, wonderful story, so that by holding on to that story, we elevate ourselves. And we are able to do that. We can do that because that we have a subtle world within us. We are in a position to create that subtle world. And that's what is basically the idea of Mandukya Upanishad giving us, that you are always creating that subtle world, very unconsciously that you are creating. Like, for example, every time that you go to sleep, you have a dream. And what is that dream? You can't say dream is real or unreal. That's not even the question. Dream may be real, unreal for somebody else, but your dream absolutely real for you. You cannot deny it. You have seen it. And it is not for the sake of convincing somebody you say that you have seen the dream. And you don't even have to convince anybody. It's your dream is for you. And this is what our Indian philosophy, Sanatana Dharma, always said, that your dream is a wonderful way that you have given expression to the emotion that is there within you, which you could not otherwise give expression to it. So dream is a place to give an expression to it. That means your emotions can create a imagination. And in fact, the way Mandukya Upanishad puts it, that just like the way that the physical world is created with the ingredients, Prithvi, Apa, Tejo, Vayu, Akasha, dream also that all these things are there. Only thing is that in the subtle world, in the gross world, it is in the gross form, but in the subtle world, they are in the form of tanmatra. Tanmatra means its own, the its own aspect at the subtle level, which is what is called as tanmatra. So you have all these tanmatras within you, Prithvi, Apa, Tejo, Vayu, Akasha, and you use those ingredients and create the real world for you in the dream. And the dream world is real for you. It is real for you. That's why it is called as Vaishvanaraha Taijasaha. That means to say, you created by your own energy, your own tejas, therefore that it is real for you. Whereas Vaishvanara is something which is common to everybody. Whatever that you create in the world outside, whatever you perceive the world in the world outside, is something that everybody else can perceive. You can tell them to see, they can also see. And they can also see the way that what you perceive. Whereas the dream, you cannot share with anybody. It is your own. But it's just because that somebody else will not see it, it does not mean it is not real. It's real, 100% real. So therefore, that dream world is something we can create, but then we create to give an expression to the emotions that are there within us. Many times what happens is that a dream can really take away all the suppressed emotions. You can free yourself from that. That's why somebody gave this idea. Dream is a scavenger. Scavenger means removing all the dirt, suppression that is there within us. The knots that we kept it in us, we can remove those knots. And that's what is the idea of dream world. So therefore, the dream world is something which is very, very important for us. And this dream world is something which can become reality for you. Now, what happens is in the sleep, in the dream, that you have no mastery over that. It just happens because of your own suppression that were there, emotion that were there. Like, for example, if I have suppressed the idea of class, I'll call you later. So, if you have suppressed emotions and they will bring about, fine, that's okay. But can we consciously create those things with the emotion state that is within us? The emotion called as love, compassion, and a wonderful supporting figure. All these ideas can give a creation to an image that is there, which we call it as God. So often what happens is that the way that people have understood about the God is out of fear. They say that um, in the beginning, when man was in the cave, when all the technology was not developed, there were constant fear of various nature elements, various forces that are there, even the insects that they used to bite you. So therefore, that life is constant danger, fear of dying. So therefore, that all these things have become God, wind God, rain God, etc., etc. That's how the code concept has come out of fear. People say that I don't know whether how much of reality that is there. Might be some reality that is there. They created that kind of a fear to the God about the God. But then even that fear is to take advantage, how we can take advantage to see that discipline the society. I remember very well that when the lightning used to come, people do not know that lightning comes as a physical phenomena. Like, for example, the rain clouds are there and then they collide and then therefore the lightning comes. Thunder comes, sound and lightning comes. But earlier, people who were there, they did not know about all this phenomena. So they used to think that when the lightning comes, God from the sky, he sends bolts from the blue. So it used to be like that, and then people used to hide to see that they save from that lightning. And next morning, when all this thing becomes cooled down, the village head Mukhya would invite everybody of the village together in the village, and then they would say that, look, last night God has been very, very angry because some people have done something wrong. People have done something mischief. Therefore, God has been unhappy. So therefore, he would say, you please come out and confess what all the things that you have done. So the idea of confession they used to use, for that they used to use God as a force which is you have to be frightened about. Powerful force which can really create all those things, destroy the whole thing. People used to come out and say all the things that they have done, whether it is stealing somebody's or doing something else, mischief, they used to say. And then the Mukhiya used to give whatever suitable punishment and all those things and say that, yes, by doing these things, God has been pleased. So this way, they have created the fear of God and they created the God impression, God image, so that what happens is people are afraid and they don't do wrong in the society. Yes, socially it has taken care of the society by this God concept, but actually that people did not know what's really happening behind it, what's the idea behind it. So therefore, what happened is that science started progressing. When the science progressed, then they found out about electricity, and then they found out it's the electrical force that is created by the joining of two clouds, and that create the thunder and the bolt and all thunderbolts and also the lightning and all that. Now that no more fear is there. The fear is not there. And it's not that there is a wind god or there is a rain god who is there above. So this is what they said, that God is now unnecessary. In fact, mm, say scientists thought that by doing all these things, we don't need God. There is a statement, very famous statement: I don't need God to explain my philosophy. So this is how that they have dismissed God. But in Indian context, it is not like that. God is not created out of fear. God is born out of love. And that's how we have all these wonderful stories behind it. Fear of God actually is establishing God is not important, you are important. And therefore, God is created ferociously. In fact, even the case of Jewish God is somebody who is very ferocious. You have to be very careful about it. The same way, Islamic God is also something. He's ready to punish you or he is to reward you. You do something that the mullah wants it, then the mullah says that he will reward you. But punishes you if the mullah, whatever he said that you did not follow that, then he will punish you. So God is like a terrormonger. He is somebody who is like he is there waiting there to punish you. This was not the Indian concept. We always had the idea that God is somebody who is benevolent, he is wonderful, he is great. So we have the idea totally different way, and that is God is out of love. Because in love, God is important. I'm not important. So we created whole story to take care of God. So Ganesha, we always take care of God, not out of fear, but out of love. Same way that all these other gods that we created, a loving picture that we have created, whether it's Rama, Krishna, and all that. Not only the people that who are mythologically that we have created, that means to say the Purana, but some of the real pictures that we created them into the level of mythology, into the level of Purana. That's what is Rama and Krishna. They were real people living, and the whole story was there. But they were so extraordinary people that we didn't want them to go in the history books. That's why we elevated them to the God level. So, and we say that they are incarnation of Vishnu, because basically the basic concept of creation, when you look at it, Brahman is the creator, one who creates the whole thing. But Vishnu is something who sustains the whole thing, who protects, he protects, and he provides. And then Shiva is somebody who dissolves, idea, so that it continues. So everything that is born has to go through this birth and then sustaining and then dissolution. It has to happen. Whatever that is born has to dissolve. In fact, this is given in such a beautiful way that jayate, vardhate, aparamate, upakshiyate, and mriyate. So these are the 5 steps it goes through. And then everybody has to go through, everyone has to go through. And this jayate, that is birth, is taken from concept of Brahman, and then vardhate and uparamate, apakshiyate. That's what is basically the way that Vishnu, and then Shiva is somebody takes you to the Mrityu. So these are the different concept gods are there. It's not that somebody is sitting somewhere in heaven taking care of all those things. They are all there within us. The whole idea is there within us. So therefore that you go respect is Brahman, Vishnu, Shiva. So these are the gods. Otherwise, there are 2 different concepts that is there. One is the Brahman, which is unmanifest. And from there, the whole manifestation has come. And there is no other source for manifested world other than the Brahman itself. There are no 2 sources. There's only one source. But then you see the good and bad in this. When we picture God to be good, but then how is bad? So some people said that God can only create good, but then bad happens because of Satan. So they created a ghost or a Satan, somebody who created bad. So there is a fight going on between the God and Satan, good and bad. But it looks like always that bad seem to be winning. In many religions, many places, it is like that. In fact, the whole lot of it is bad seem to sustain and the good seem to suffer. So this is what seems to be the picture that you create. But that's not the idea. The idea is to see that good always wins over the bad, so that we give a positive picture for the world creation. Good is always more than the bad. So therefore, essentially that these various stories are there where good and bad fight is there, and then God, good ultimately wins, but good goes through suffering, and that bad seem to be enjoying time, but at the same time they suffer. So we have such stories throughout the Puranas. Another very important aspect is that we see that this dream is real for us. The dream is very real for us. Can we make this God also real for us? Realer, more real than the dream itself? This is what your devotion, your love for God can make it. This is what is bhakti path that gives you. Love God so immensely, so deeply, so engrossed way that you go to the God in such a way that you start seeing the God like the way that you start the dream, the beginning. But then slowly it becomes as real, much more real than the dream itself. That's when we call it as normal person dream, but a bhakta, spiritual person, it's like a vision of God. This is what, in the case of Papaji, that is Ramdas, in his book In Quest of God, in the vision of God, he writes that how a quest has become a vision. Your quest is so intensified in such a way that the quest makes you to see God all the time. And slowly, then it becomes so real that the dream becomes less real than this vision that you see. Then it called as vision, and a vision is a reality for you. It may not be real for anybody else. We can see that all these bhaktas have developed like that, the visions of God. And they express that. In case of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, so beautifully explained about this vision of God, how real it is when Vivekananda goes to him, Naren, when he goes to Ramakrishna and says, have you seen God? Before going to Ramakrishna, the whole story is so beautiful that Naren was in school, and like any other child, he was also going along with his mother to go to various temples and then pray to the God. Every child does that. Not that child has any faith in God, or no non-faith also. That means the belief or no belief, but he goes to the temple and then he prays that. Every child does that. So Vivekananda also, Naren also was doing all that. Years together he was doing. Not only that, he used to sing nice, wonderful bhajans. Extraordinary, wonderful singer he was. So all that was there going on in the life of Vivekananda for almost like 5, 6, 10 years. He was going on. Suddenly, he started developing this question: does really God exist, or is it our figment of imagination? So when this question came up, normally many people have this question, but they suppress that question, saying that like everybody follows that, I also follow it. So God must be there. So therefore they follow it. And sometimes even people follow it because the fear that, if I don't believe in God, God will punish me. That's how the earlier people that have fed them information about that. So therefore they say that, yeah, God is there, so I pray God. Whether it is there or not, I pray to the God. If in case he is there, that he should not curse me. That's why I pray to the God. So therefore that the faith in God is there, very, very lucrative. But then this boy is so intelligent, so bold, so courageous, so brave, that he had this question that does God really exist? When this question came up, he went on asking people, does God really exist? Have you seen God? Such people that who are supposed to be extraordinary, wonderful spiritual leaders who are given constantly talk on God, God's existence, he would directly go to them because this boy was so courageous. And boldly he would ask them, have you seen God? Such great people like Vijayakrishna Goswami is one of the great speakers of divinity during those days, Advaita philosophy. And then when he was giving talks and all that, thousands of people listened to it. And then this boy goes to him, 14-year-old boy, and asks, have you seen God? Customary answer that he tried to give to this boy, saying that God is, yeah, omnipotent, God is omnipresent, God is omniscient. This boy cuts him half, cuts him to the, stops him, and then says that I'm asking a different question. Have you seen God? Now he was a little taken aback, but he said, why are you putting this question? See, my question is very direct, simple. You are talking of God. Have you seen God? Now, with that question, that he really became nervous, and Vijay Goswami replied, no, I'm trying to see God. Vivekananda was disappointed. Naren was disappointed, and then he came away. But then the question continued. He went to such great people like Devendranath Tagore, and he was also another person, Brahma Samaj. He was talking about Brahman all the time. He goes to him and asks, have you seen God? And like other people replied, he also, Devendranath Tagore also, with a smile, he says, yes, my dear child, you are very, very intelligent, you are very interesting, and you have very good idea and all that. No, I'm asking a different question. Have you seen God? When the boy directly asked him face to face, that time, honest, he could not deny it. He said, no, I have not seen God. I'm trying to see God. See, everybody confessed like that. He went to umpteen number of speakers who are talking of God, but nobody could assure him that they have seen God. The more and more people talk to him that they have not seen God, or God is an elusive answer that they give. God is omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient, and all that, then this boy would be more and more depressed by that, more and more disillusioned by those things. But it does not mean that his question did not stop. He continued to maintain that question. That question bothered him day in and day out, always thinking that is there anybody who has seen God, who has really say that he has seen God. All that question was bothering him. And in that, he was so caught up in that question that he forgot about the outside world, what's happening. He's going to the school, slippers fall off, he doesn't even notice that. Dress is not properly buttoned, but he would not look at that. Hair is not properly kept. He goes to the school, sits in one corner, day in and day out thinking of, have you seen God? It was such a big thing that he was not paying attention to the teachers, not paying attention to the colleague students. They all felt that what a horrible thing. Why was he caught up with this question? Became such an intelligent boy, such a promising boy, but why has he taken up this question? So they did not understand the question, but they only they felt sorry about he was caught up with that question. And this continued for months together. And he would sit in the classroom all alone in one corner. They thought that we have lost him. But one day, an English professor, he was talking about the English poem in classroom. And then while talking about one poem, Excursion, he said that particular stanza when he read, he said that this stanza must have been written by the poet when he had the God experience. Otherwise, humanly, one cannot write this kind of a poetry. That very idea that God experience, he must have had God experience, it just struck Vivekananda, Naren. Immediately they thought that he is not paying attention in the class, but at once he became all ears and said he asked the teacher, Professor, have you seen this person? Who is this author? Where does he live? Can I see him? Can I interview with him? All this flood of questions. Now the teacher said, this particular poet, a 17th century poet, he is not there now. He is not there anymore. He died. He was there living in England. A depressing answer. But then the boy did not get depressed. He had further question to ask. See how sincere he is. Next question he asked. So you seem to know the people who have the God experience, a poet. So in your view, is there somebody in any part of the planet Earth who has that God experience like the way that this poet had, so that I would go and like to see him? And again, a depressing answer, a negative answer came up from the professor. He said, no, I don't think there is any poet today who has this kind of an experience of the caliber of this poet. But he did not stop there. See, always, when the things are almost like ending at that point of time, one flash of light comes up. And that thought came up. He said, huh, it's not a poet, but there is a person who lives in the temple in Dakshineshwar. And his name is Thakur. People call him as, Ramakrishna. People call him as Thakur. He seemed to have God experience. He sees God, talks to God. He lives with God sometimes. I don't know. I did not see him. I only heard people talking about it. The moment he said that there is somebody who had that God experience, immediately this boy has become all ears, all interest, jumped out of his seat from his classroom, ran all the way to Dakshineshwar to meet this Ramakrishna, the Thakur. And then when you go to the Dakshineshwar temple, on the right side, when you turn, that the corner room is where Ramakrishna stays. So he made an inquiry and found out that's the place where Ramakrishna stays. He goes there, gasping for breath because he's coming running from the school. And in the afternoon, 3 o'clock, because he has a son, in the sun that he came, he knocked on the door. He's still not really normal. And Thakur opened the door with a smile on his face, looks at this young boy. And the boy asks, are you Thakur? Are you Ramakrishna? Thakur with a smile, with a pleasant smile. He says, yes, people call this as Thakur. I'm Ramakrishna. Please come inside, sit down. What can I do for you? So now I have a question for you. Have you seen God? Thakur smiles and says that please come inside, sit down. Have water because you are coming from all the way from Calcutta. You must have been tired. Take some food and then we can discuss. This is not the only question. Several questions that we can discuss. Look at the way that Ramakrishna Paramahansa very coolly handled that question. And that itself is something which is remarkable. Others would have been immediately jittered by that question, nervous by that question. But this boy, with all that, he comes and asks, have you seen God? He very coolly handles that. But then the boy did not leave it. I want to know whether you have seen God. When he asked again, then Thakur replies him in 3 sentences. And he says, I have seen God. Yes, I have seen God. First time this boy receives a positive reply, affirmative reply. Not only that, by that saying that, yes, I have seen God, actually he finished. But then he goes one step ahead, saying that I've seen God more real than I see you now. That sentence is very, very important sentence, which Thakur said. Because from 2 points of from 2 angles that you can see this answer. One angle is that this boy might go little away, thinking that yes, this man has seen God. But then suddenly he might develop a question saying that maybe he has seen God in his dream, or maybe in some hallucination, or maybe influence of some drug, something like that. So it may not be real to him. That's why the second sentence is very important, saying that, yes, I've seen God, and that God I've seen is more real than I see you now. Idea is that if there is anything like dream, seeing you is a dream, not seeing God. Seeing this world around me is a dream, not God. Now look at that answer that Thakur has given. It speaks volumes. And the idea is that God is more real to me than this world. That means my perception of God is absolutely real. It may not be for others, but for me, absolutely real. This is what we call it as the vision of God. Somebody has intensely connected with the God so much that that intensity makes him to see that God is, in the beginning, it comes in the form of a dream, but slowly the dream becomes a reality. And the reality for himself. And with that reality, all our people have given the Shastras. So that means to say these Puranas are given by these great rishis, Shastras, who are the drashtas. That's what the idea they say. Drashta is somebody who sees that. One who sees that, one who visions that, experiences that, he is the person who has written. So for them, this whole thing is like drashta seen. And this kind of a thing, you can see that many people later on also express, apart from the Puranas, in the real life also. Like, for example, Mirabai, when you take it, Krishna was there 5,000 years back, but Mira was 400 years back. But look at the way Mira's intense love for Krishna made him such a way that Krishna was dancing with Meera. Meera was dancing with Krishna. He could not leave the company of Krishna any time. Krishna was always with Meera. So that is the extraordinary, wonderful advantage, wonderful experience. And when that kind of an experience of Rama, its experience of Krishna was there, walking with her, talking with her, is it not something that is real, is living? And not only that, it purifies Radha so much. It purifies uh, the Meera so much. This is what is. When you are purified, then you see the divinity. Or you see the divinity, therefore that you purify. Such a beautiful concept that is there in the form of stories that we have. Let me come to another story to show that how this is such a real thing that is there. A little girl comes from the village, negotiating the forest all the time, and then come to the school and go back to the house. And then every time going through the forest is such a big thing because that the wildlife is there and darkness, and the girl is afraid. So she was crying all the time because how I have to go all alone and nobody is there with me. But other people, that rich people, that they go along with their own buggy or whatever it is during those days. But she's so poor, she cannot afford all those things and nobody has given her company. But the teacher said that you have to come, Gurukul. Then she started going every day to the Gurukul exactly at the same time and coming back. The teacher never thought that this girl will continue to come, but then this girl comes very happily, participates in the school. She gets the best of the marks in the school, ranks in the school, and then goes back home. The teacher wondered. He said, "What happened to you? You said that you are afraid of going through the forest all the time, but every time you come through the forest and come back, go back and come back, everything, so safe, everything." Then this girl so innocently says that, because I walk with Krishna, Krishna goes with me all the time. We talk, we tell a lot of stories, and then we come. He thought that it is just a simple chattering of a little girl. Couldn't believe it. He said, "How that happened?" And this girl says, "I told her, my mother, I cried, and I told her that, look, I am afraid of going through this forest all the way to the teacher. So therefore that I cannot go. My mother told me very simply that, call Krishna. Krishna will come with you. He's always with you." Innocently, that mother told this child, and the child also took it so seriously. Then, as soon as she goes near the forest, and then he calls Krishna, and Krishna comes with his flute, little boy, and giving nice, wonderful company with her, telling all the stories and all that, leaves at the end of the forest and then goes back and then says, "Now you go to the school, you are safe." "That's what I'm doing," the girl says. Teacher couldn't believe. He says that, "No, no, no. Even we never saw Krishna, never appears and all that. You saw Krishna?" And then he didn't believe. And then she said, "You are telling a lie." He said, "No." She started crying, saying that, "No, I'm telling truth. And you want to see, come." And then she takes the teacher to the forest. And now at the forest, she says, "Krishna, I've come, let's go home." And now Krishna did not come. She said so many times, but so many times that she said, even then Krishna did not come. And she was wondering what happened. She was crying almost. And then at that time, Krishna says that, "Look, if you come alone, I'll come with you because you're so innocent. I'll go with you. But the others, they are not innocent like you. I do not want to come in front of others." That shows that your cry is not innocent. Your request is not innocent. Pure bhakti is not there. Pure love is not there. If pure love is there, that pure love creates the divinity in front of you. That's the idea of the whole of. In fact, such stories are there. So many stories. The story part is not important. The important is the message that you get. In one village, that they didn't have rains for years, maybe a couple of years, and they said, "What is the solution?" That you do Parjanya Yajna. When do Yajna, then rain will come. All the Brahmins are convinced about that. And then all the villagers have to go to the Yajna point and all that, so that They all pray together, they pray to the god so that rain will come. One little girl is also going to the village, to the yajna place, carrying an umbrella. And big umbrella, this little girl carrying that. Many people are walking all the way that they found that the umbrella is coming in their way, coming in their path. And then they get irritated. Some elderly person got irritated, a grown person got irritated and said, "Why are you there? What is this you are carrying this umbrella?" On one side that we don't have rains and then we're all going there to pray, and then you brought this umbrella. And then this girl very innocently replies, "You see, we are going to pray so that rain will come. So I want to come back home without getting wet. Therefore, I'm carrying the umbrella." Look at her faith. Others don't have faith. They're going there, but then they don't have faith. With that faith, with that Shraddha, when you pray, then the God will come. The Shraddha is something which purifies your mind in such a way, all other points are removed, and then you're only pure love. That's why Shraddha and love, they are the two sides of the same coin. Shraddhavan labhate jnanam tatparaha sanyatendriya jnanam labdhva param shantim achirenadhigacchati. Bhagavad Gita talks about it. Shraddha is an important thing. I said one of the most important aspect of ingredient of Sanatana Dharma is the Shraddha. And in that child, you can see that Shraddha, she carries the umbrella. Others don't have Shraddha. Lucrative. They suspect whether this is going to be real or not. So that is the way it happens. So therefore, that you have to really have that Shraddha and then you pray, then the vision comes. So all these Puranas are the visions of the people who have that Shraddha in God, and in their vision has given all this kind of thing. And that vision has produced this kind of Puranas that are there. Look at the richness of these Puranas. 18 different Puranas. And apart from that, there are several other stories connected with stories. All these things will give us this idea of richness of this culture. Just not the Puranas, but only thing, but around that Purana, we created so many rituals, so many practices to see that we follow the love, compassion, giving. All these things are created around that rituals. Whatever the Dharma principles that are there, Sanatana Dharma principles, Prema, Tyaga, Karuna, Indriya Graha, we embed all those things in creating the rituals around this Puranas. Then what happens is that all these prema, tyaga, karuna, indriya graha, they do not become burden on us. We happily do it. We joyfully do it. That's very important thing. With Shraddha we do it. We do not curse. Oh my God, I have to do I have to do the fasting. Oh my God, I have to do the jagarana. That is whole night I have to keep awake. No, you have to do it. In fact, recently also, January 1st, that in Prashanti, there were young students. They took upon themselves. They said, whole night, for 24 hours, we'll do the Ramnam Sankirtan. We sit down and sing the Ramnam. Whole night they were doing it. And next morning, all of them were as fresh as they were there previous day. 24 hours non-stop, they did the chanting, but they were beaming with so much of joy, so much of relaxedness, and all that. That's what is the power of these Puranas. That's the power of stories. So that means to say these Puranas, therefore, they are not myth. That means to say it's just for the sake of it, but they have reality. And this kind of reality, not only the Puranas, we have created so many stories. They convey the message that we are supposed to get by the message of love, compassion, message of Sanatana Dharma. So Sanatana Dharma survived because of these various stories, the Puranas that we have. And again, these Puranas were revived by Shankaracharya. These Puranas were created by Vyasa, or the group of Vyasas that he created. Such an extraordinary, wonderful thing. And Puranas, stories can be added in between. It doesn't matter that you add the story. But as long as that you want to carry some message, some idea behind it, you can do all those things fine. But don't These are the things which are important in the Puranas, how to elevate you spiritually, how to take you towards more and more towards Sanatana Dharma. That aspect is very important. I've seen many authors, very unfortunately, they become very critical about these Puranas. And they wrote such account of these Puranas, which are demeaning for themselves, demeaning for this whole literature that we have. The aspersions on the characters of Puranas, so horrible, so unfortunate it is. Like the way that Rama abandoned Sita. In fact, the whole idea is created in such a way that men, they look down upon women, they punished women. All this kind of things were a nonsense that is given. So let me try to explain some of these Purana stories. What is the message that conveyed behind it? So that you can understand that the greatness of the Puranas, the message that we communicate. Many times what happens, you may not even know the message of it, you will not be able to know the message of it. Does not mean that Puranas did not give that message. Only thing is, we are short of understanding that. Let's wait to see that the meaning is unfold. How do you think of it? How it can unfold itself, the meaning. So therefore, that you pass on that. But please pass on this information about this Puranas in the Sanatana Dharma for the sake of building up the dharmic content of the people, dharmic nature of the people, richness of the people in their spiritual journey. For that, these Puranas are to be created, not for the sake of criticizing it. Whether Rama existed or not, Rama sent the forest, Sita to the forest or not. Unnecessarily, people have written books after books and volumes after volumes criticizing these things. We have so called spiritual leaders who keep on criticizing these characters of Puranas. I feel hurt because that they are not anymore religious people. If they have religiosity in their heart, they cannot criticize. It does not belong whether it belongs to any part of the world, whether east or west, north or south. It is the educated, uneducated, but these characters are very, very important, significant for us to convey. So let me say a few stories from Puranas, pick up few stories from Purana. Try to explain what is the hidden meaning behind it, idea behind it, to see that how we can raise it to a loftier level, higher level by giving meaning for these things. So with these ideas, I'll stop it today at this level. We'll continue the journey. The next weeks to come, and how I go into Purana. After giving all the ideas of Purana, then I go to the rituals that we are practicing, because that's another very, very important support for sustaining this Sanatana Dharma in our day-to-day life. Extraordinary. And that also forms the aspect of various four paths of yoga that we try to bring about in that. So with these ideas, please digest these ideas for 1 week. Next week we'll meet. Thank you so much. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Anyone has any doubts? You can unmute yourself and
Question it.
Well, sir, all of us will have doubts, but I don't know how to present my doubts. Anyway, it was a pretty interesting one, sir.
Yeah.
And particularly when you say that that Ramayana, Rama abandoned Sita.
Yeah.
That particular part, I'm not sure if it was an add-on to original Valmiki Ramayana.
Right. We don't have to worry about it. If you don't add it to it, okay, fine, that we are happy with Rama. Even if you add it, you should be happy with Rama.
Exactly.
Because somebody who has added with an intention of spiritual journey, enriching the spirituality. And if you can see that, it makes such a wonderful sense to it. So it is easier to dismiss it.
Exactly.
But to substantiate it, it takes sadhana.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Right.
And this 2025 will be a Puranic year?
Yeah, seems Puranic and karmic year, karma
Okay,
karma
okay,
concept, karma aspect of
okay,
it.
yeah.
Yeah,
I look forward to it.
thank you. Nicely said, Puranic year. Yeah, beautiful. Yes.
Okay, Raghuramji. I
Okay,
think
thank you.
it's
If no more questions are there, I think we
Thank you,
can.
Prabhaji, and I wish you all happy 2025.
Thank you. Wish
Thank
you a
you.
very
Thank you.
happy 2025. Thank you, Raghuramji.